Hello, it's Paul, and it's
Megan.
And it's the SBC show. And this is one of our favourite eps, isn't it? We like doing this one.
Yeah, so we're doing a quarter roundup, a review of quarter three, so from July to September.
What's been and what's to come?
Yes, so we're joined by three of our ESBC solicitor estate agent member firms, and yeah, we'll just let them speak for themselves.
They normally do.
Okay, thanks guys for all coming on to the show to do our quarter three review. I don't know, just to start off, get a little introduction from each of you. Dave, I don't know if you want to start.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm David Marshall. I'm Operations Director with Warner Solicitors.
Perfect. Caitlin?
I'm Keegan, and I'm a Legal Director with Gillespie Macandrew.
And I'm Tracey French, and I'm Property Manager from ELP Arbuthnot McLanagan.
Right, well, now we're all friends, we may as well get started. So I think we're going to have a look back at what's happened so far in the year. Then we're going to talk a little bit about some of the facets we've seen of the market in the last 9 months. Mm-hmm. And then we'll ask you for your forward predictions of what you think we might have for the run into the end of the year. So yeah, let's get started.
Yeah, absolutely. So Dave, I don't know if you want to chat us through how you found quarter three to be?
Yeah, I mean, it's quarter three's been, I'd say, pretty strong. It's been kind of a continuation of what we've seen for much of the year. The properties are generally selling, within a kind of 3 or 4 week window in most cases. You're not seeing maybe the crazy premiums that you got in 2020 and 2021 when the market was probably a wee bit overheated. But in general, I think the average you're looking at tends to be about 3% overvaluation in most cases. So overall, it's been a pretty good market. I don't know how other people have found it. But
I know, I agree, and I think you're right on the percentage over home report value. And we've seen a lot more come to the market. I think actually, maybe in the last even 6 weeks or so, it seems to have really picked up quite a bit. We're seeing a lot more sort of in our team sort of taking on more come to the market, and in the conveyancing side we're definitely offering more. There's more people, new inquiries.
Yeah, in fact I'll just give you some context of that, and then maybe Tracy will get your thoughts at the end. I mean, we've just put out the house price report for the July to September quarter. The average sale value is up 4.9% to 290,000. Wow, £259. Sales are up 19.3%, as you say, a lot more selling, and listings up 13.5%. Both of those year on year. So there's just more activity, isn't there? There's just more going on. Any thoughts, Tracy?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, we had a quieter July, and then August really picked up. September has been so busy, and it's lovely to see this time of the year.
Yeah. And we were saying, weren't we, about people trying to be in for Christmas? Not that we're encouraging that, I'm sure. Sorry, Caitlin. Yeah, we'll ask you from the conveyance's point of view if that's possible. But
yeah, I guess that was something that we were looking at with the time to sell and then the time to complete. The time to sell was sitting at 22 days last quarter. But time to complete maybe a little bit longer. Yeah, Caitlin, I don't know if you want to talk to us about that.
Yeah, no, it definitely is taking a wee bit longer. We sort of used to average about 8 weeks from date of offer being accepted to completion. I would say it's more now 10 to 12 weeks. Obviously, everybody wants to get in as soon as possible, but it's just taking a bit longer. Lenders are taking a bit longer to produce mortgage offers. And then there's the dreaded chains. I suppose if we're going to go down that rabbit hole, it is slowing the whole process up. So, yeah, definitely I would say 10 to 12 weeks is more realistic.
And we mentioned the dreaded chains there. Have we seen more of those this year than previous years? And what would be the reason for that?
it's certainly much more common to see people offering subject to sale, which is, how you obviously end up in chains. People are more concerned about sorting out the purchase side of things, and then happy to get their own home on the market thereafter. Can be a double-edged sword, though. It's obviously a much weaker position to be offering from. Typically, you'll find you'll have to offer not inconsiderably more. In general, everyone's circumstances are different, of course, but in general, we would tend to advise clients the best thing to do is get your own home onto the market, and then once you've got an offer, you can always try and negotiate a longer date of entry if you haven't managed to find your own place at that stage, and that puts you in a much better position and avoids you getting into a chain, because the problem is if you accept an offer subject to sale on your own place, then your buyer may also in turn accept an offer subject to sale.
Everyone's waiting for someone at that point. Yeah. And there's a probability now, we think there's a greater probability of finding a property this year than last because there's more stock. 20% plus 22% more properties available on espc.com at the moment. So there is more choice for sellers out there.
Very much so. I mean, we would typically probably have about 120 properties on the market, and it's currently double that. So there definitely is more stock available out there. And as I say, everyone's circumstances are different. But
I think you know, speaking to clients, because obviously I work on the convention side, they're so stressed about the thought of being homeless. You know, but if I put mine on and then I get somewhere, where am I going to go? Particularly, I think with the rental market as the way it is, they're like, it's not going to be easy to rent somewhere. But again, like you and probably yourself as well, we're encouraging people to just get onto the market, because it's just slowing the process down, and they are missing out, I suppose, because if there's a good closing date, you know, any selling agent would say to their client, take the offer that's not in a chain. Yeah. So clients are then missing out, but it's very hard to get clients to see the bigger picture on that, because they're just so worried about not having anywhere to go.
And does that ever you know, it generally, what would you do in a situation where the client just can't find anywhere? What would you say to a client, you know, to the other side of that point?
We would say to them, get on the market, your position will be stronger. We keep saying that to clients all the time. If you're at least on the market, or even better under offer, your position is so much stronger in terms of getting somewhere. But I appreciate, you know, as you say, everybody's personal circumstances are different, and particularly if they have kids and stuff, they're like, well, we can't, we've nowhere to go, or what if we don't get somewhere within the school catchment? It's just they panic, and I get that.
It's understandable, isn't it? Because say there's human stories here, but worst case scenario is, I guess you would just lose the buyer before you become homeless, wouldn't you? You would just say, sorry, buyer, we can't find anywhere. Would that be what would be the end game in that situation where a seller just couldn't find somewhere?
Well, I suppose, you know, it depends. If the seller has decided to go into concluded missives, then there's a problem, because they'd be in breach of contract. But generally, you know, if a seller accepts an offer and they've still to find somewhere, they'd ask for that time and the buyer would agree. So there is options there, and it's just about people being aware of that. Yeah,
and that's it. It's about being upfront, isn't it? Yeah. And we have that product unlock where you can absolutely be transparent about that at the very beginning and say, look, I'm a seller, could take me 6 months to find somewhere, and if you as a buyer can't wait that time, I'm probably not the house for you or the seller for you. So there is a way, isn't it? And I think we've spoken before about unlock, haven't we, Tracey?
Yeah, we have. Yeah. And it's not used a lot, but you know, it's another option for people where they can get their house on the market and then get their buyer in place. And the buyer knows they have to give them a certain amount of time. And we've kind of thought up to about 6 months is fair. And it puts them in such a good position when they're offering, because what we're finding as well is that when people are going to offer and they've not got something on the market, then they're losing 1, 2, 3 properties. But every time they offer for a property, they have moved in their minds. You know, they've gone through all of that, and it is so upsetting for them to lose each one. So it's just trying to convince people that by getting on the market, you know, they are going to be in a better position. If they offer at a closing date, they could even be the second, third offer down. But because they're in a better position, they might get that, and they're not paying as much as they might have had to do.
I actually totally agree with that. I offered at a closing date for a client last week, and we were the top offer. The second offer was 20,000 less, and the seller took the second offer because our clients weren't on the market yet. So they're now obviously considering just getting onto the market.
Certainty is £20,000 plus. Wow.
Yeah, and I think sometimes clients almost need to go through that process once or twice themselves, where you come back to them and you say, listen, we were unsuccessful at the closing date. We were the top offer, but unfortunately the seller's chosen to go with someone who's chain free. And it's not uncommon, you know, £20,000 would not be an uncommon sort of disparity there, where the seller's going to want the sort of certainty of that chain-free offer, because they may well have their own onward purchase to consider as well, and you know, they're going to be worried that, well, if I accept an offer subject to sale, then you know, there's generally the way it works is you would then give your buyer 4 weeks to get their own place on the market and under offer, or a 4-week review period, but again, if they then, you know, accept an offer that again is subject to sale, you could be waiting months and months, and you end up losing your onward purchase as a result of that. So,
okay, because I think we on most episodes talk about this, don't we? Yeah. So we're new to some listeners, but anyone who follows the show will be like, they're talking about that again. So shall we move on to another subject? And you want to talk about good news stories, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. So the buyers that obviously are that break the chain are the first-time buyers. So yeah, we were wanting to know if there was any good news stories you had from, cases that you'd seen of first-time buyers getting on the market and seeing, a positive story about it.
I mean, yeah, even just from personal experience within the firm, we've had, I think, 3 of our team have purchased their first home within the last couple of months, one of whom just moved in a couple of weeks ago. So I think it's a combination of factors there. Obviously, the interest rates have come down a wee bit. Deposit requirements possibly not quite as high as they once were. Certainly immediately post credit crunch, there's a greater variety of mortgage products out there as well. You've got things like the joint buyer sole proprietor mortgages and such like, which gives a perhaps easier way for parents to offer assistance to kids without having to worry about the additional dwelling supplement, the second home tax. So no, it's been great seeing so many of the teams sort of moving in. Way too young to be owning homes as far as I'm concerned. They're still in their 20s. Fucking.
I'm sure people said that about us.
I think as well, because the market has sort of calmed slightly, where things aren't going as much over home report, that's helped the first time buyer market.
Very much.
Definitely. I spoke to a client last week. We put in an offer. It was for property down in Kelso, and she didn't think she had any chance of getting it, and she stretched herself by another £1,000, and she got it. And she was just absolutely delighted when I phoned her, and it was lovely because she's a nurse that works in intensive care, and she'd had a really tough day. So it was for me, that was a good news story, because she just genuinely thought, I'm never going to get on the ladder here. So stuff like that, it's heartwarming.
It's kind of
just when you least expect it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's one of the best parts of the job is sort of telling a first-time buyer they've got their first home. It's really rewarding. You get some lovely feedback from clients on that front. Sort of saying, "Oh, you'll always be part of the story we tell when we bought our first home." And it's genuinely one of the sort of most rewarding parts of the job.
Can imagine. Slightly different at your end, isn't it, Trace? Because you're more out there listing properties as opposed, but I guess it's still happening within the firm.
Oh, definitely. I mean, the properties that we're selling a lot to first-time buyers, which is great. And I feel that there are less investors out there, so first-time buyers have kind of got in there, and they've got a lot of options. So we're seeing that, which is really nice. And I also think for first-time buyers, if they can get that confidence and take the plunge, because rent is so expensive, and they are finding that it's not maybe going to cost them as much more than they think to have a mortgage. So, and certainly some of the people that I know that have recently bought for the first time, that's exactly what they did, and they got a surprise. So, I mean, obviously you need your deposit and things as well, but it's been fantastic. So that's some nice experiences we've had.
I mean, that's exactly what we were looking for, some really heartwarming stories there, so thank you. One of the other facets we've seen, actually, just in the house price report, it'd be good to get your take on this. Marketing strategy for properties coming to the market now. 84.5% of properties listed coming on as offers over. Again, that's probably a good barometer of the market, is it? More confidence, a lot more than last year, so a lot more properties being listed that way.
I mean, that would certainly, I think most of us would agree, that's sort of the default position.
It
when
is.
you would, unless there's specific circumstances where, essentially speed of sale is more important than trying to get the best possible price, which typical case would be if someone has had an offer accepted subject to sale. Generally you would still go on at offers over and then maybe look at things after a couple of weeks, because you've got usually, as I say, the 4-week review period in that circumstance. But no, overwhelmingly we would recommend people go on at offers over, set the asking price just a wee bit below the valuation figure, and then look to attract offers over that. In an ideal scenario, obviously you're hoping to get to a closing date, and
And very often we see people that do go to a fixed price, but very often it's touching on what you said, is if they are subject to sale, then they have to just do something to try and push it along. And so a fixed price can be a really good way of doing that, but offers over is always the starting point. Yeah.
And I guess you must see that, Caitlin, when you...
Yeah, I do. From my side, obviously, the convention side, what I would always say to a client is, the offers over price is great, but what the seller's focusing on in the first instance is the home report value. And that's the figure we need to, that's what we need to look at first. Yeah. And that's where we start our discussions on what a good offer might be. Obviously, take into account how long it's been on the market, how many other notes there are, things like that. But yeah, generally, we start with the home report value purchasing wise.
What's the highest percentage? This has got nothing to do. I'm just curious now. It's my show. Our show. What's the highest percentage over home report, that you've ever seen anyone offer? And have you ever said to the client, "Are you really sure about this?" Have you? Because you must try and sort of calm them down a bit at some point.
Try sometimes. I would say probably in that sort of, that post-COVID craziness that went on. I think I had a client that went maybe 28% over.
28% over the home.
And we were second.
It's a lot.
We were second, So there was, and that was for family homes.
Sure.
And I think from recollection, it was a family home in Morningside, which is obviously always a bit.
And a bit of a forever home. You probably.
It was a definite forever home. I wouldn't have minded the keys, but never mind.
Coming in 30% over.
So, but I think it was 28%. I think that might be my highest. But regularly at that time, we were seeing 25%. And I'm glad, I don't know about you guys, but I'm glad the market has calmed a bit. Because it makes for a better market, the market moves better, and it's just a wee bit more fair.
It was impossible for first-time buyers.
Yeah, they would not, or even the second-time ones, the ones that have done the first time, and making that jump, maybe they're like, they've had a kid, or they need a bit of space, or an office. I think that's a really hard jump, that one.
I'd agree, and I think, nobody wants to see the market rammed or anything like that. I'd say you want a stable market, which is what we have now, I think. Lots of choice. It feels fair to both parties, and I think where are we? 102.2%. As say Dave, short of 103% there. It feels a lot calm, doesn't it? Really, just where we want to be.
The ones, I don't know how you guys find it, but the ones that still can go a wee bit crazy are quite often the quarter share properties. When they come on, they can go a wee bit wild in terms of the sort of offers they achieve. It's not uncommon to see one where the quarter share, the valuation equates to 70,000 and it sells for 85 plus, 90,000.
So that's one where they own a percentage of it, but they don't own it outright. Normally with a housing association.
Usually 75% is owned by quite often Link Housing or one of the housing associations, and then you pay a monthly rent. So you own a quarter and you pay a monthly rent.
On the other bit.
It's a good way for people who wouldn't otherwise be able to afford to get on the market, particularly in the Edinburgh area, because it's pricey.
Absolutely. Okay, shall we talk about outlooks?
Well, I was just going to ask one more question before we go on to that. Where are we seeing where are the hotspots? Where are we seeing big activity happening?
I mean, still for us, definitely Leith. It's fantastic. I mean, the majority of properties in Leith are flats, so possibly that's why there's a high turnover there. But also South Edinburgh, as in Edinburgh South, there's a lot of purchasing going on there in our firm, and I think that's can be quite an affluent area, so quite high purchase for first-time buyers, but that is hotspots for us.
Yeah, I would say that, but Leith's sort of first-time buyer heaven, isn't it? Yeah, we always get, and even a lot of the, my colleagues within our firm, there's a lot of them, first-time buyers want to buy in Leith. I would agree South Edinburgh is pretty hot at the minute too. Even, I've had a few first-time buyers in Brunsfield, but, it depends on, how much money they have, deposit, bank of mum and dad, or bank of parents, or, it's massive at the minute. But I would say South Edinburgh, Leith, Dalry a bit. I think it's doing pretty good as well. Yeah.
I was going to say, mention sort of Dalry and Gorgie. I think again, God, I'll upset the football fans, but there are similarities to Leith when you look at it from in terms of within relatively easy walking distance of the city centre, pretty reasonably well located for some of the major university campuses and such like. So I'm not getting into whether Gorgie is better than Leith, but you can see that there's sort of similarities there in terms of what might appeal to particularly the first-time buyers and such like. So that's definitely another area that's doing quite well.
Interesting, isn't it? I'd say all first-time buyer areas, all quite close to the tram line, which has definitely been a big thing that's had a bit of a tram line bounce down in Leith there, definitely. Yeah. So I think we've come to that point. We've definitely come to that point when we're going to ask you for your forward predictions. So I think if we just think about where we are now and maybe till the end of the year, what do you see for the market in the next couple of months?
I think it's going to be busy. There's plenty on at the minute. There's plenty of stock. Cutting interest rates has helped, hopefully. Hopefully we might get another one.
Come. Yeah, I think so.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, certainly on the conveyancing side of the firm, I think it's going to be a pretty busy end of the year. Good luck.
Thanks for making it here
You must see my
today.
exhausted look here.
Yeah, you've done so well getting here.
I mean, we're already probably, recommend or starting to think about having to set dates of entry, or recommending people
The
do it
dreaded
for
Christmas
the
chat,
new
yeah.
year, because realistically, you don't want set dates of entry for the week prior to Christmas, because if anything goes wrong at all, the problem is the lenders are all going to be closed. Even if your lawyers, and a lot of them are willing to work overtime and do all the hours, you're not going to get a bank doing that. So,
No, and that's the problem. You could be there, the other side could be there. But if the lender's gone home for Christmas, that's it.
Yeah.
It's too stressful for clients.
Shut down between Christmas and New Year is pretty common now as well, I think.
It is. A lot of firms do shut for the 2 weeks. We don't, but so we work between Christmas and New Year, and quite often it's so quiet, because even if you send emails, there's nothing coming back.
Yeah.
It just depends, but there's no point, because in removal companies it's difficult.
Yeah.
It's
And if
just
there's a
that
chain,
time
all you need is one solicitor not available, and
exactly
everything
And it
stops,
just-
doesn't it?
Yeah. So.
Okay, but we think.
But yeah,
strong.
sorry, I was neatly dodging the predictions.
It's too hard.
Smooth. No, I think exactly that. I'd expect it'll remain pretty brisk up until the end of the year. I don't sort of foresee any major shocks in the market. In general, properties have been selling well. I'd expect that will continue to be the case. Naturally, on the sales side of things, I'd imagine that will start to quieten down a wee bit in end of November and into December. Yeah, it's going to be great. But then it always picks up very quickly in the new year. I feel like you go through it every year. You enjoy about a week of it being quiet in December, and then you think, oh God, I hope it picks up in the new year. And then by about the 3rd of January, I think, oh God, why was I worried about it picking up? So I think there's every reason to expect it'll be a pretty quick start to 2025 as well.
Yeah, definitely. I feel the same. It's going to continue to be busy for the remainder of this year. We've still got lots of properties due to come on. Some are not quite ready, but they're coming on. We're still visiting people to give them valuations. So that's really encouraging that we're still going to be busy with that. And like you said, December does then get quiet, but it all starts in January. It's a busy start to the year. So yeah, it doesn't hang about. It's been like that for the last few years.
I always say if everything else was equal, the first full week of January would be the best time to get your home on the market, because buyers start looking straight away. You'll probably see yourself from the SPC stats.
I was about to say Boxing Day
on
onwards.
Boxing Day, yeah.
You see it flatline a bit before Christmas, and then Boxing Day onwards.
It's like Boxing Day sales.
Yeah.
You spend Christmas dinner with the in-laws, and then they're like, right, okay.
Move further away.
But no, I mean, straight away buyers are looking in the new year, but lots of sellers don't have their ducks in a row to get on the market. So there's lots of demand and not much supply coming on. So all things being equal, if you can, we'll recommend to people, listen, at least get the photographer out and everything, so we can have everything ready for you. Even if you want to leave getting the home report until we can get that booked in, and then we'll have you on pretty much as soon as the doors reopen in the new year. It's a great time to go on the market, because, as I say, lots of demand and typically not the supply to meet it early in the year.
Good. Really good advice. You've heard it first.
Yeah, perfect. I think that was all of our
We
questions.
did. We have exhausted our questions. So thanks, guys. David,
Thank you.
Caitlin, Tracey,
Thank
for
you.
joining us today. It's been really good. Enjoyed that.
Yeah,
Good
it was
log
really
around.
good. Yeah.
Got some heartwarming stories about first-time buyers as well. So
Yeah,
all good.
I know.
All
Lovely.
good. Thanks for your time, and we'll catch up with you soon. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.
I enjoyed that. We had some heartwarming stories there about first-time buyers, so
Yeah.
you must be pleased.
Yeah, absolutely. I do love that. And I think nice to just hear a different perspective on some of the things, bringing the stats to life, really.
Yeah.
I thought that's what they did.
That's what they do, don't they? I mean, they're at the coalface, so they see these things. So it's nice to get the story behind the stats. And they all seem very optimistic for the end of this year. And actually, if not getting too far ahead of ourselves, they didn't seem quite bullish about 2025.
Yeah, absolutely. So hopefully all good news from here.
Indeed.
Uh,
Okay, well, we hope you enjoyed that.
Yeah, if you did, please remember to subscribe wherever you're watching or listening, and otherwise we'll be back next week.
We certainly will. So we will see you then. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.